We say welcome to Sharon Shakung. Put on my glasses, Sharon. Yeah, I've got it right. Sharon, welcome to our Hash Leadership, Global Leadership Conversation 1, which is all about trying to understand what we need to do to turn around the global leadership crisis. Thank goodness for pockets of excellence, but collectively speaking, there is a bit of a leadership crisis, even though we have more access to leadership development, leadership books, leadership content than ever before. But so do we have more access to many other things. So maybe the world has just escalated and our leadership development hasn't escalated with it. I don't know. We're trying to get to the bottom of this. So I've got Sharon with me, who's an independent leadership development practitioner, and she's also involved in many other projects and partnerships. But that's the key reason why we have her here. She's been developing leaders for a long time. She's got strong views on my two particular questions. Sharon Shakung, welcome.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Glad to be here.
All right, so Hash Global Leadership Conversation 1. The first question is, as always, what is the most important quality or attribute we need to develop or awaken or improve in leaders if we are going to turn around the current leadership crisis?
Thanks for the question, Adrian. In my view, Adrian, I believe that when it comes to leadership, it starts and ends for me with a person's personal values. And I see a massive deficit in that regard, both in terms of leadership in, I suppose you could broadly call it the public sector, governments, our own governments across the world, as well as what we see happening in the leadership space in the private sector, in the very large corporations and institutions that are making major decisions on the part of the population from an economic point of view. When you look into the challenges that we find ourselves facing, in my analysis, what it boils down to at the end of the day is a deficit in terms of personal values that people in those leadership positions and decision-making positions who wield massive influence of all sorts of different kinds. That's where I see the gap being the biggest challenge at the moment.
All right, so you would put on the top of the list, obviously we could have a nice long list because there's lots of issues we could work with, but the top quality or attribute is, I guess, being connected with your personal values and living to them and everything that surrounds that. You could have said, well, we need to have better communicators. You could have said we need to have better this, better that. But you're putting values at the top of the list. Why is that on the top of your list?
Adrian, it's at the top of my list because in my view and my experience and observation and in working with different people in different spaces, I believe that leadership is about influence and it's about the kinds of decisions that you make and ultimately impact on those that are in your care. There are various different capacities of leadership at different levels. Even if you only look at the very top of institutions, the people that are in your care, the kinds of decisions that you make and the kinds of ways in which you're going to be fulfilling your leadership role, including the kind of culture that you develop in that particular institution that you are leading, all of it comes down to what informs your decisions. And the biggest informer of your decisions is what is within you from the perspective of personal values. Whatever kinds of decisions that you make, it doesn't even really matter the kinds of decisions that you do make. At the end of the day, what is informing those decisions is the kind of person that you are, the kinds of values that drive your behavior. And it's not even, for me, it's not even a question of us saying that, we need to be looking at your values and how they inform what you do and how you lead in your position. It's also about the kinds of that you do have, because we seem to have a tendency of assuming that there is a common set of values that, that we all have or should have. But, you and I sitting, as at today right now, if I were to share my, core values with you, and you were to share your core values with me, we might find that, in fact, there's a big gap in that regard. And the question then becomes, of the two sets of values, which ones are ideal for us as people in leadership positions, and what kinds of cultures are they actually going to create in the institutions that we are that are in our care.
So ultimately, all my decisions result from that which I value most in the end.
Absolutely. Most absolutely.
Okay. So the second question is, how do we best develop, awaken, improve this quality or this attribute, the ability to be connected to my values? What is the best way to get our leaders in that position, in that place?
Yeah, look, there are a number of ways in which we could do that. And maybe, one could argue maybe there isn't a best way, on the kind of practitioner that you are, and given that kind of assignment to say, okay, go out and do that, and develop values-based leadership in different places. But the one way that I use, which I believe in very much, is that for us to work with leaders in that regard, we need to be looking at developing self-mastery skills within those people, or personal mastery, whichever terminology you want to give it. And that, for me, personal leadership or self-mastery goes way beyond what I again see as being prioritized out there quite a bit, and sometimes in a very narrow-minded sort of way, way beyond emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is just one aspect of personal mastery, and I believe that we should actually be making that a priority in our leadership development approaches. So whichever approach you take, for me, what counts the most is that as you have that component of self-leadership, of personal mastery, as a primary component of your leadership development program, and or even maybe not program, because it goes beyond the program. And by program, I don't just mean the programs that you get at business schools, which have a start and an end. I suppose priority, your leadership development priority as a strategic priority, way beyond that program. And that priority, when you're addressing that priority, it would end up having other elements on your screen as a strategic leader, besides just your leadership development programs or management development programs.
Yeah, so you're saying it goes way beyond the 2-day module on self-mastery, because I do find a lot of leadership programs seem to start with that these days. Okay, so at least there's an acknowledgement that the first one is self-awareness, so mindfulness, presenceness, whatever, presentness, and all those things. But after a 2-day workshop, something touches me, I get back into the work environment, it's gone. And then I go to my second module, which is about working with people. And I go to my third module, which is more hardcore business stuff. And so we move away from the self-mastery, and it was just a good module in the distant past. So I get what you're saying there. Thank you so much. Sharon Shakung, I have a feeling I can talk to you about much more. But you've put your view on the table, values, and then, of course, the way to develop it is we've got to intensify that. It's got to go beyond the classroom. It's got to go beyond the first coaching session. It's got to go beyond. It's got to become a way of life, I think you're saying.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying, yes.
I feel very strongly that when I think I've discovered myself, there's more. And that's this incredible permanent project of me, the real me, the real I, deep down. Who is that individual? And the more I find that individual, the more I will project honest, authentic confidence, as opposed to this superficial confidence because I have a great degree or position, or another confidence, just a Nelson Mandela type confidence, I guess, that sort of confidence. Just thank you. You were wonderful. Independent leadership development practitioner, Sharon. We appreciate your time. It's the Hash Global Leadership Conversation 1. These are the quality short conversations we're holding out there with leaders. Why? So that we can get us all thinking about how to turn around this global leadership crisis. And we want you to have the same conversations with people around you that are experts. Record it. Eventually, you'll put it on the Global Leadership platform, on social media. But all this leads to one place, and that's the Global Leadership Platform, where we want people to comment and like and be part. We want to seclude the leadership conversation from all the other social media platforms to some degree. It's fine for it to go there, but in the end, we wanted to go to a pure leadership platform that is a magnet for all things leadership. Sharon, thank you for your time. Look forward to more conversations in the future.
Thank you, Adrian.